everybody. John Chow with Cruise Addicts, and we've got
Don from Eat Sleep Cruise. Good evening, afternoon, morning, night, wherever you guys are. How's it going, John?
Really good, Don. It's so good to see you here. We're both on terra firma. We're not cruising in Alaska, and I know that's what we're here to talk about. We both, I was on the Norwegian Spirit just a week or two ago here, and you just got back from Majestic Princess, right?
We did. We literally got in a few days ago from Majestic Princess, one way southbound from Whittier down to Vancouver. So love if folks have questions about Alaska, cruising, Princess cruising, Norwegian Cruise Line. John just said he was on. Let us know, of course, if you're cruising. Let us know where you're at, when you're cruising, and of course, let those questions come in. So we've been on land 4-ish days, 5 days now. Just getting my land legs.
Yeah, I tell you what, did you get any rough weather? I know when we actually went from Vancouver up to Seward, Alaska, and that first couple of days there were some swells, and I guess even the captain even said the crew members were feeling a little bit because it was still new to them. There was pretty good movement, but we enjoyed it. We actually like that part of the cruise vacation too, because it lets you know you're actually on a ship, right?
It does, definitely. We got very lucky with the weather and the sea conditions. You know, we started off further north, heading south, and we really only went out that last day to kind of go around Vancouver Island and then go into Vancouver. So the sea conditions were great, a little gray, but we got very, very lucky with that. So, but you never know. Every week is different. Every day literally is different there. So you could have beautiful weather one day, next day it's rainy and cold. What really surprised me is how much snow was still in some sections. I know you must have saw even more snow when you were there.
Yeah, that was really neat. I've never cruised that early in the season, and we were one of the first ones ever, just starting out the season, and we loved it. I mean, there's snow all over the place on all the mountaintops, big snow drifts, even on the top of Icy Strait Point on the top of the mountain there where the zip line is. There's huge snow drifts, I mean, it was really, really cool. But of course, you have to dress for that, and that's like you're saying, when you go to those mountaintops or you're out on a boat, or if it's gray. It can be gray and cold, and you're up against a glacier, and the next minute the weather can change later that afternoon more so, and it's warm, so you have to take those layers off. So it just reinforces what we've been talking about, and everyone's always telling us, wear layers, wear layers.
Right. We might have overpacked, but that's not a surprise for us. But I felt like we used almost everything, even if it was for, to your point, a few hours, because you woke up one morning and it's kind of chilly and cold. You go out on your balcony and you're like, what's the weather going to be like? Like, what's going to be cold today? You bundle up. And then by like 1 o'clock, if the sun's out, it feels almost 10 degrees warmer, right? So you're like, oh, I'm going to take this off and put a vest on. Or if you have like a thicker mid-weight kind of zip up thing, where a lot of those zip up things down there, up there, then you feel like you're constantly doing costume changes and then you're never really sure what to bring. But we used almost everything we brought, and we're actually going to be heading back. So we're probably going to pack most of the same stuff. Maybe not as many heavy. We brought like some really heavy things that we only wore one day, kind of up in Anchorage. So it does depend too where you're going. Like we did one ways, right? So it's definitely different conditions down in Vancouver than say up in Anchorage or Seward or Whittier if you're heading in that direction.
Yeah, and I don't know if we talked about the last time we talked, because I know it was I was a little dazed from traveling, but
you were still in Alaska when we talked.
Yeah, it was a long day though. I think that day, so it was one of those days, And but here's when you were just talking about packing, because we definitely overpacked, but there was people that we had traveled with that we saw online, and they had this little baby bag, this little like carry-ons. How do you travel to Alaska with a carry-on? But there's people that do it, and I just do not get it. Like, I don't know how do you do that.
I don't know either. So, we'll get into our travel woes at the end of the trip. But of course, if folks have questions, like I said, about Alaska cruising, we got some questions coming in. Thanks for joining us. Howard, Ripa, we had Cindy over on YouTube. Thanks for joining us tonight. So we actually had an issue where we missed a flight coming home. And we won't go into details. So we missed our connector from Vancouver to Toronto. And we didn't have our bags or carry-on. So we basically had to like sleep in our clothes, get a toothbrush from the hotel. So the people who can live in a carry-on, I envy them, because I guess you always have your luggage with you. So I don't know if we'll start bringing carry-ons, but that's just more luggage. But Alaska, you must have to rewear stuff or do laundry, right? If you have, because you're gonna be doing hiking or going to dinners. You definitely need to change up. You can't wear the same clothes all day. It's not like a Caribbean where you can wear a bathing suit essentially every single day, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this because it really honestly we're interested. Like, not necessarily that we're going to ever do that, but we're genuinely, it's fascinating how do you really do this,
Right.
successfully? Because I don't want to be the guy wearing the same clothes the whole week. I've seen that, unfortunately, but
It happens. It
yeah,
happens.
but I know there's special materials nowadays where you can pretty much wash anything in a sink and hang it up, in a shower. And there's materials, like I said, those, like those pants. I forgot what that's called. Like almost like a Fabletics for the women have something, that sport materials where it's very easy to wash and it dries very quickly and so on and so forth. And if you guys know, if you have any suggestion or tips, please enlighten me. I'm not making fun of this. I'm genuinely interested because if we can, even if we just progressively work our way where we can buy some of those things, because I've seen like pants, for lack of a better description, almost like parachute pants, in the old days. I'm going old school here, but that.
Are you going MC Hammer style over here on me, John? I'm going 80s. Like, are we rocking this out?
I got moves.
We'll have a dance off at another time. But,
okay.
I mean, I actually did buy some of that stuff. So some of that lightweight wick material, right?
Yeah.
That like Under Armour, but everyone has.
What's the 2023 word for this?
What's that?
What's the 2023 word? Is it sporty wicking, moisture wicking? Is that what it's called?
Listen, if I was trendy, then I mean,
I thought you
I
were.
had no idea.
You went down that road, and I thought you were going to bring me with you.
Oh, wicking! No, I was wicking, wicking material. But honestly, I bought some hiking pants. Not that I'm a big hiker, but that lightweight material is super important, and you can wear it a couple times. Now, Princess Cruises does have laundry facilities, and it was pretty cheap, like self-service laundrettes that you could use. So you don't need to go crazy. You don't need a new outfit every single day. So when packing, we get a lot of questions about packing. Definitely know what your cruise line has. So if you don't have laundry, of course you can pay, but then you're paying $4 or $5 an item versus, I know Hal has it. Princess usually has them too. The laundry services where it's like $4 or $5 a load of laundry. Then that makes sense to do things like base layers. I work a lot of base layers. So you see some pictures, people like, I'm wearing just kind of a thicker flannel shirt or 3/4 midweight, but I have a base layer underneath. That makes all the difference too.
Yeah, that's great. And I've seen those pants. That's what I'm thinking is a lot of people wear those types of pants and they have a moisture wicking shirt. And you can just, you can get some uses out of those things and you can mix and match and what have you. And you can probably get pretty far. The same with, I mean, a lot of the underclothes are the same way. I mean, not that you're going to use that several times, but it's something you can wash and dry very quickly. And, you don't have to pack as many pairs of those things. And so I guess there's probably a method to the madness. Like I said, I'm genuinely interested to go there to learn how to do it successfully and not look weird or weirder. I don't know. So,
well, or we could do what Peter says here, that his wife, and I love Peter. Thanks on Facebook. Thanks for this comment. My wife got mad at me if I said this, but she bought some new clothes at the ports and at the ship, so they had to buy a new suitcase. We're not that bad that I've bought enough stuff. I've had to bring a duffel bag. We bring a packable duffel bag with us because I am known to buy a couple things, and Heidi too, my wife Heidi. But that's another way to go, right? You show up on the ship with just the carry-on, but then you leave with a carry-on and a suitcase.
I definitely seen that. Most ports do sell some type of suitcase, and as much as my wife buys, I've thought about buying a suitcase because it's like, honey, especially all the Alaska stuff. We bought a jacket, we bought sweaters for our daughters, and T-shirts and all that stuff like that, and then of course you buy some Christmas gifts, for the relatives, and before you know it, you
did you get me anything?
I did, but I didn't want to tell you.
Oh, well, Christmas is right around the corner. My birthday is already passed, but Christmas is right around the corner. So
it had something to do with the reindeer.
That reindeer sauce is great, but
we got some reindeer gravy.
So Peter, thanks for checking in. But packing, as we were talking about, we went. So people usually ask. So we did 3 suitcases, one full suitcase and then like a smaller one, which was kind of toiletries. We brought some hiking shoes because we knew we were going to do hiking with some excursions, and then outerwear, hats, gloves. I think the total weight was over 100 pounds between all three suitcases, like 120 pounds. So they were roughly 40, a couple or 45, depending on thing.
That's not bad. That's
But we did use almost everything we used. So I don't feel like we went too crazy. But if anything, maybe we had too many warm clothes because we got very lucky with the weather and didn't use all the outerwear that we could have. Like I had one extra jacket I brought just in case and didn't really need it.
Yeah, I think we definitely, bought brought too much. But it was one of those things we were glad we did it. I think luckily we've learned. It's almost like the more you travel, you get a little better at doing it, and lately we've done more. So it's kind of like we're kind of like, okay, we've overdid it the one time. And so you have that memory of, okay, I don't need that, or I don't have to do that. So you start backing off on things. Alaska kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in there because there's so much unknown. And of course, you guys are probably gonna do a lot better job packing in this next cruise that's coming up because it's fresh in your mind,
We hope so, but like we were saying earlier, we're looking at the weather this week compared to last week, and it seems like it's 8 to 10 degrees cooler.
Oh, wow.
You would think it'd get warmer, but the temperature is so unpredictable. So we'll still probably pack stuff and maybe not use all of it. Like the last day, I had a polo. Last day was a sea day for our cruise, which was fine. So I was walking around in the polo, and I really didn't feel cold. I felt the ship was warm, but people complain it was cold. Maybe I'm just naturally, I got more insulation on me than other people. I don't know what it is, but
my feeling was and still is during the cruise I'd much rather be a little bit cool than hot. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I had no problem. And of course, we're living in a little bit cooler climate in North Georgia, so it's not too bad. We were kind of used to the 40s and 50s, So we didn't have to buy different things really. We had a lot of stuff. We brought it all. We basically brought like an outer jacket, like a light jacket that had a hood. We little things like that. I think one time I even wrapped it around my waist, which I normally wouldn't, but we had it, but we didn't need it. But it can change. It's almost like the opposite of the Caribbean, where you could be, like I said, you go venturing out into Juneau, Alaska in the morning, and you're out there and everything is clear, but all of a sudden cool, rainy weather could roll in, cool. And of course, with the clouds, it drops in temperature. So now all of a sudden, you're out there and it's rainy and dark and cold. So, it can switch up pretty quick.
Plus, it depends the excursion you're doing. So we were in Anchorage and we did a tour where it went out to kind of the scenic highway they have there, which was gorgeous. But you're going from like a bus to these different stops, Beluga Point, the marsh, and you'd walk out and be like, oh, it's fine, and walk out on this, and then you go down the road a half mile and you're on the water and you're doing what some of these scenic points that the Park Service have, and you're trying to take pictures right along the waterway. And it's windy, it's cold, you got to throw something on and take it off. So as we've said before multiple times layers are definitely important, and you need a day bag. Both of us brought a day bag because when you start carrying a raincoat, I wouldn't recommend an umbrella, like a raincoat, then an extra layer, like I said, a vest, or maybe one of those down kind of packable coats that you can wear. You wear that, and I put the raincoat over it. So my raincoat's on a little bit on the larger side, just because I want to be able to put it over some other layers, because it can be cold and rainy, and then it could just be cold, it could just be rainy. It's kind of all over the place. But we'll see. We'll report back. We'll compare the 2 weeks to see how well we did with packing. I would give us like a B+. Yeah, Heidi always gets A's, but I would say like a B+. We did a B+ in packing this time.
That's good. At the end of the day, I think you just have to be not leave anything at home, anything important at home, and just be comfortable. You'd much rather have something than not have it. And as long as you're comfortable and you don't forget anything important where it could ruin your trip or, get in the way of it, that's the biggest issue, rather than, have the packing police come at you, right?
Yeah. So speaking of which, so Diane asked us a question. How's the weather there in June? As John and I were just saying, it's all over the place every time of year. May is historically the drier of the time, but typically a little bit cooler. But as we were both saying, he had a little bit cooler weather than I did the week before or last week. I would say it was like upper 40s, low 50s. But you need to know yourself, like being from the Massachusetts, Boston area, like 50 degrees to me in the sun, I'm like, yeah, I'll wear just kind of like a thicker long sleeve shirt and I'm good. Whereas other people if you're from Florida or Georgia, right, John, people think it hits 50 and it's like the Arctic to them. So you got to know kind of your own tolerance. But as we would say, you got to pack for what, 3 seasons basically when you go to Alaska?
Yeah, and I think, what sticks out to me, Diane, off the top of my head, was what really impacted us the most. Oh, wow, we really glad we prepared for this, was we did these glacier cruises where we took, I think it was the Columbia Glacier. We did an excursion where we went right up to it. And so you're cruising along. This was in the Valdez, Port Valdez, in the Prince William Sound. Okay, I was trying to remember exactly what. And we went up to it, and we're cruising along, and we got closer to it, and all of a sudden there was ice everywhere. And as we're getting closer and closer to the glacier, it's getting cold, and it's not getting a little bit cold; it's getting really cold. And I'd say it probably went down to like 20 degrees. So you really need to be really ready for that. But of course, the excursion boat was beautiful. It was temperature controlled, and so you would go out, take these great pictures, and be up close and see the ice and whatever was going on out there. A lot of times there's wildlife sightings, but when you're out there, we were bundled up and it was freezing, and you would literally your hands would get too cold. If you did, like, I didn't have gloves, but my wife did. So if you want to be outside, if you want to be that person hanging on the rail on the front of these boats, where you're whale watching or glacier watching, where you're doing a special excursion, or even on the ship, depending on the weather, get yourself a set of gloves, get yourself a hat that covers your ears. Could it be overkill? Maybe on some days, but those days and those moments where you're going to want that, you could potentially need that if it dips down to like those cold temperatures, because you're on a moving boat. So imagine being on a car going, 20 something miles an hour or more, on the cold water with ice pack, with ice and glacier water. So the whole combination makes it really cold. So those are the times where you need that. And then Diane asked about warmer clothes. But I did want to touch on the weather. What we did was we just go to like Google, pull out your phone and look it up and type in, okay, Skagway. Well, what day is it? You can do a 10-day or 7-day, whatever outlook on Skagway or Juneau or whatever it is, and line it up to the day you're going to be there. And they say, okay, Wednesday it's going to be sunny. Well, Tuesday it's going to rain, or Thursday. And see what the weather pattern is going there. And of course, you can pull it up if you have Wi-Fi on the ship. You can pull it up as you're getting closer. And I'm sure the ship even tells you a lot of times what the weather's going to be the next day. But what I'm trying to say is I basically looked at the whole area. I looked at Seaward. I looked at Vancouver the day I was there. And then I kind of went up my itinerary and typed in those days to look at what the weather was going to be like, to give myself an idea. And at the time, it was pretty much like 50. What's the high? Could be like 60, the low might be 40, partly cloudy. It was supposed to rain, I think, Friday and Saturday. So it kind of gave me an idea what to pack and what the temperature ranges were going to be. So
yeah, I mean, so you definitely so that's just to your other point. Kathy mentioned she wished she had gloves. So the accessories definitely key, gloves, and as John mentioned, hats. Those are lightweight, so you don't have to worry about going over with your luggage. You can put those in a carry-on. We definitely had those and use those, especially like you said in the morning. You're out looking at the glaciers and it's 7 a.m. or something, your hands are going to be cold. You want to keep them in pocket. If you're taking photos, videos, all that fun stuff. So the accessories are key, especially socks. You have some nice wool socks that you can have. Those are key because we had sneakers because we didn't do a lot of. I had Merrell's, so kind of low profile hiking boots. But other folks, if you do a lot of other excursions, you might have other footwear. But the wool socks, I brought like 3 pairs of those. Those things, they keep your feet warm if you're wearing like flip-flops. So those little accessories can go a long way versus having this giant jacket that you kind of have to wear it or not, right? Gloves you can take off or put on, hat you can take off, put on. But we saw a lot of people on Glacier Bay, got beautiful weather, it was like 50 degrees. And I'm wearing just a vest and shirt. I see people all bundled up. I'm like, it's not that cold, but I feel like that's probably all they had to wear, so it's like this or nothing. So definitely bringing a couple of those little accessories or a couple different thicknesses or gauges of outerwear is to me more preferable than packing big winter coats. But I maybe we just have a thicker skin than other folks. I don't know.
And the little hats that you pull over, for men that can cover your ears, or women, those are nice. And you might not use it for the rest of the year depending on where you live, but you'll want it there for that particular moment. And just like we're saying, you may not need it, but when you do need it, you're going to want it. So just like the gloves. we're sorry to be so vague, right? But it's just so true. We were just there, and my wife's like, "You're gonna need this, you're gonna need that." Guess what? She's handing me she's dressing me, put this on, put that. Sure enough, we needed it. And
well, she made you look good, John. So if you
Yeah.
haven't already checked out at Cruise Addicts, John has a bunch of stuff of social from his trip, more to come. We're just starting to get stuff out there too at Eat Sleep Cruise. But so John checking in at YouTube says he appreciates the info. We appreciate you joining us, John, for the live. Going on a 10-day cruise aft. He's got an aft suite. That's pretty nice. I know there was a question.
Nice. Beautiful.
Very nice. There was a question earlier on. So let's go back to that. Hopefully, where Cindy's still with us, and the big debate raging on about whether or not to book a balcony. I'll give my 2 cents. John, we'll let you. So full disclosure, we had a balcony. We were guests of Princess Cruises. I upgraded. I did one of those bids. So all the cruise lines now, right? You can bid to try to get a better room. We did whatever they call that bidding program. And we got what they call a premium deluxe balcony. So a little bit bigger room, but we were on deck 9 aft. We got an extra large balcony.
Wow.
Which the thing was massive. We'll have some pictures of it on social. Heidi, I'm sure he does. So
yeah,
this huge balcony. It was like our own viewing platform. So it was like an extra $180 a person or oh no, it was under 300. So it was actually 290. I'm sorry. So it was under 300, under $150 a person. So it was extra like $145 a person for the week. For us, that was well worth it. I'm a proponent of getting a balcony. I know some cruise lines, if people ask starboard or port, some cruise lines will actually charge you more for what they call scenic. Because remember, the ship may dock on different sides, or depending if you're going northbound or southbound, the ports might be on one side of the ship, the other. I would say go with the balcony, and if price is an issue, try to sail off season, so it's a little bit cheaper, like early season, like we both did, or a little bit later in the season. So I am pro balcony because you get to view stuff from there. You can just chill, just look out. If something's happening, if there's an announcement, there's whales, you can just walk out. You got a 50% chance they're going to be on your side of the ship because they're going to be on one side. Not everything's always going to be on your side, but we're team balcony. How about you, John?
Yeah, well, we were also guests of Norwegian Cruise Line. We were lucky enough to have a balcony. And I think of all the years since I started the website, we were always told by people before we ever went to Alaska was if there is a place that you should get a balcony, that it goes from a maybe to a must, would be Alaska. And I still agree. I think it's amazing because you have these, you're getting ready, you're getting dressed, you're getting up in the morning, whatever the scenario is, you're relaxing in your cabin. You can look out and you have this beautiful view. There's so much scenic cruising in Alaska where the sun is over the mountains, snow-capped mountains or where have you, be it the glacier. And you can just see these great views just right from your balcony. You don't necessarily need to. The alternative is, remember, I forgot the person's name, otherwise you have to sit there and get dressed. You have to get ready to be seen by the world and go up to a top deck to see something, Sydney. So I think it makes you relax more, makes you enjoy things more. And also your cabin's bigger too, usually. Most balcony cabins are a little bit bigger as well. So you get that's a perk as well. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to tell you, there's Alaska cruises are not necessarily the most affordable. So it's kind of like, this is a good place to put it's a good investment, I think, to have an overall great Alaska cruise vacation is to invest it in the balcony, because everything else, excursions can really add up. Of course, pick a great cruise line, and Norwegian and Princess are really, amazing experiences. I mean, so that's just my 5 cents, maybe 10. I went a little long there, didn't I?
No, that's fantastic. So I guess we'll have to find. I don't know many people who are not team balcony in Alaska. We've had a few folks on our live say they don't think it's worth the money, but I think John and I both agree it's worth the money. You said put on clothes. I'm like, John's not walking out on his balcony naked. You got like leisure wear on. You mean you don't have to get up for the world to see you. Put your makeup on, get your hair all done up. But you're still wearing clothes. But I do agree. Just having it there is great, because there'll be a lot of times where naturalists are on board and they might do some narration, which you can put on the bridge cam usually on your television.
You just said a naturalist.
Naturalist.
Do they have clothes on?
No, that's a nudist.
Oh, okay.
Nudist, no clothes. Naturalist knows about nature. and can describe things about me. We're already off the rails. 25 minutes. But I guess balcony. I guess I would not go on an Alaska cruise if you're like, well, I can't afford a balcony, but still want to go to Alaska. That's fine. Maybe you want to put your money towards your excursions. Maybe you're saving up and you want to do something like one of those explorers that goes really close to a glacier. Or we were very fortunate to finally do a helicopter ride and do a dog sledding on Mendenhall Glacier, which has kind of been it was supposed to be one of our bucket list things for our anniversary cruise 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Carry the 1 years ago, and it's been canceled on us multiple times. So we got to do that, but that's not cheap either. So if you're like, well, I want to spend money on that versus the balcony, that's up to you too. It's your money and your vacation. But as John mentioned, either way you crack it, Alaska cruise are considerably more expensive than a Bahamas or Caribbean cruise. But there's only really one Alaska, whereas there's a lot of competition, right? There's a lot of Bahamas and a lot of really pretty islands down that you can go sit on the beach and have a drink versus there's really only one Alaska.
And I was just thinking, just to play devil's advocate, about
go for it.
Going, if you were to go to a destination where it's very port intensive, where you're cruising at night and you're busy and you're not in the cabin very much just because it's busy. Okay, maybe get an inside cab, maybe get a window, outside cabin with a window. Alaska is not those things. You got a lot of scenic cruising with glaciers. You have days where you're coming and going that are, you look at even the ports, you look out the window, in this case, a balcony, it looks like a postcard. It's beautiful. So you want to be able to have those great views. That makes the vacation. And but yeah, it is very expensive. I mean, the last time I was in Alaska, it's been quite a while, but I would say the excursions are not just twice, double the cost of what they were before. It's probably triple. So that's just what's happening in the cruise industry. The cruises are still relatively affordable. And of course, Alaska, you have to fly there, which makes it pretty expensive depending on where you're coming from. But the excursions are quite expensive. That's just part of going there, where compared to a Caribbean cruise. But that's just like I said, that's just what I'm thinking about.
Well, we have a post on ours, the real cost of Alaska cruise, in a video on YouTube. You can check it out where we give you we actually tell you how much we paid for our Alaska cruises, and we don't hold back. We tell you the truth, and we say really on the low end. I mean, there's only 2 of us, so it's Heidi and I. We don't have any kids. We've easily spent between $3,000 and $5,000 per individual, so between $6,000 and almost $10,000 all in. And we've been to Alaska five times. Just depending on, and always getting a balcony. So right there, we know we're paying a little bit more for the room. But as you mentioned, some of these excursions are $500-$600 a person.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're not paying that, things like the White Pass Rail, one of the most popular excursions, that's still, I think, like $150 a person in that ballpark.
I think it was $176.
$176. So
I was like, wow.
You got a family of 4 right there to do that. It's $600, like over $600 to do it if it's $176. So.
Yeah, I know it was like 170-ish. Like I was shocked because I'm like, that's, it's just, and then everything is a lot of money. There was something that was like $469. I mean, once you get into a helicopter, I mean, it used to be years ago, helicopter ride was like $300 or something like that. Now it's much more. It's like so that's where that multiple comes in. Everything is 2 to 3 times what it used to be, years ago. But of course, inflation's happening. So.
Right, and as they asked about Portside Starboard, just to get back to that real quick and we can move on. So if folks have other questions, Kathy's team balcony too, great. Folks have other questions, feel free, let us know, ask your questions. John was just on Norwegian Spirit. We were just on Majestic Princess, so ask Norwegian questions, Princess questions, general Alaska questions, itinerary, ports of call. We're here to help. We know Alaska season just started, and I think they said this year, I know the number was always 1 million. I think they said they estimate at least 1.5 million. Individuals will be cruising Alaska. I know right before the shutdown, they had hit 1 million. So more and more people going to Alaska. So I'm sure you guys have questions about any aspect of the trip. So pricing, itinerary, weather, all these great things we're talking about, right, John?
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about it. I know we talked to the folks in Icy Strait Point in that company there that's developing ports. The good thing that's happened is they during COVID and the shutdown, they didn't stop developing the ports.
Right.
they knew that the tourists would come back. They knew the ships would come back. So they took the opportunity to invest into new terminals that are coming online. So the next couple of years, even more capacity in new places that are new for cruisers. And I know that's what people are saying is that a lot of times the cruise lines only send so many ships there. So there's still a limited amount of ships that are there. But in the future, there's going to be more places to visit and more ships, more capacity to go there. So it's very exciting that more and more people, and so you're going to see the numbers go up. But it's definitely still a premium experience, because of where you're at. I mean, it's very, very far away. Like I was telling my wife, I said, Juneau, the capital is completely enclosed by a glacier. So everything has to be flown in or shipped in. So it's very, very expensive to do anything there, even if you want to live. And most people it's even funny because I hadn't been back in so long, but you always hear stories when you visit Alaska, the people that live there, how they visited on a cruise or some type of vacation and they never left because people were just so mesmerized by the beauty. They're like, okay, I'm good. I'm staying here. And they stay for 20 years. And your bus driver will tell you the story. Someone running an excursion will tell you a story because it's beautiful, but it is very, very expensive.
I mean, it is, but nowadays, if you live near a major city, I mean, things weren't, I think, too crazy on land. We did all our tours through the cruise line. You can still get some deals out there, but when budgeting accordingly, like I said, we have a video, we have an article on our site, and we say on the low end, if you can get away around $200 to $2,500 per person, then you're getting a steal. But with more places, more berths are coming up there. They said they had 3 ships. I think they had 3 ships at Icy Strait. You can have. They were telling us, I think, in Ketchikan, because Norwegian has their new Ward Cove over there, that they can have up to 8 ships. So they're definitely able, with some ships tendering, and that there were 4 there, I think, the day we were there. And then they come in at different times too, right? Some stay longer, some stay for a set period of time. It does open it up to more individuals, right? So if you almost every major cruise line has at least 1 ship there. Carnival has a couple. Norwegian has a few. Princess and Hal, they have the most ships, 6 and 7, I think, around there. So they also leave from Seattle, Vancouver, Whittier, Seward. There's all these different destinations, embarkation points too. So the region is definitely growing. And I think they were saying Norwegian's actually adding a berth in Whittier. They're building one right next to where Princess is docked, because Whittier is an amazing place. It's a really small town where the only way you can get there is taking a tunnel through a mountain that was built by the Army, or of course by ship. That's it. It's one road in. It's a town of 800 people that basically support some commercial fishing and tourism, but there's one road in and there's one road out, and you have to go through this crazy tunnel. So, there's not many places like that, especially that are in the U.S. that folks can experience. So it's definitely worth that premium price tag.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I'm not trying to talk anybody out of it, but it's
just want you to know what you're getting involved in, right? You just need to know. When you're pricing things out, don't get that sticker shock. Just know what the price is.
Now the biggest sticker shock I got, honestly, was the price of crab in Alaska.
Oh, wow.
People, I met someone. They're like, they had been there, and they recommended this restaurant, so I pulled it up, and I was like, well, I guess we're not doing that. I was like, what? It was so expensive. I was like,
no. MKT just means market price. That's not Roman. They didn't use Roman numerals.
They didn't have market price. They had it was so expensive. I was shocked. I was like, wow.
Well, we're going back, and I didn't get to eat at Tracy's or get anything ashore at any of the destinations on this last trip, just given the schedule. So I already braced Heidi because she doesn't eat seafood that I'm getting to eat seafood, but now she's gonna be like, I don't want her looking at the bill at the end.
So in Juneau, though, we went to this place right on the water. It was actually right near Uncruise's office, which was pretty cool. And there was Uncruise ships there. We had perfect view. And I had never walked on the boardwalk area there before in Juneau, which was really cool. We just had fun walking around. And we had halibut fish and chips. And we had it was a corn dog, but it had reindeer. It was a reindeer kind of sausage. That's what I'm trying to say.
How was that?
It was great, and
and
it was affordable. It wasn't like $400. For I don't know. Maybe I'm being cheap. I don't know. You tell me, Don.
Nah, no, it's fine. Listen, you can't go baller all day every day. That's why I tell folks, like, if you can't afford if you don't want to spend the money in the balcony because you want to do the helicopter ride, I'm cool with that. Like, you're gonna do a float plane in the Misty Fjords and go through there and spend the money on that, and just say I'm gonna wake up early, go to the observation areas or go to the outside decks, and I'll have a different type of room. I think that's cool too. Or you want to spend money on crab and yeah, whatever. It's your money. Spend it on what you want. Just know how to budget. Before I forget this, this is a question we've been talking about packing. So Carol on YouTube asked about formal night. I can let you know what the vibe was like on Princess and John Norwegian. So in general, I think Heidi mentioned this, that so Heidi's the producer. She's the one taking care of all the real important stuff. John and I have the talent, but
hi Heidi.
She'll coming. No, I'm just kidding. She's in a totally different section of the house because if she'd be hitting me every 5 minutes. But I would say Alaska Cruise is a little bit more casual, and I think she already mentioned this. We did see people wearing suits on formal nights or dress up or not night, whatever. Each cruise line calls it something a little different. I would never say you have to feel forced to dress up. There are plenty of people on Alaska Cruises who do not dress up. I actually brought a sport coat without a tie and only wore one of the two chic nights or formal nights. Princess calls it dress up night or whatever. And we didn't feel out of place. Be comfortable. It's your vacation. If you want to wear a shirt and tie, great. If you don't, great too. Heidi likes formal nights, so we always bring something like a coat. I don't normally bring my full suit. In the Caribbean, we do. We get a little bit more dressed up. I think it's just, you're on the beach all day, you want to dress up for dinner, whereas in Alaska, like, you're hiking, you're whale watching, you come back. Last thing I want to do is shower, put my suit on, but that's just us. I don't know. Did you get dressed up for formal night on your trip?
I brought a jacket and had slacks and dress shirts like that, no tie. And then I never pulled it out because there was no dress code. I think it's because of Norwegian's freestyle dining that we didn't see. We kept expecting one, but I never saw one. And I never noticed anybody really getting dressed up because sometimes people are out later depending on the excursions. Remember, the sun's out later a lot of times as you get farther north in Alaska. So people kind of did their own thing. I thought it might be real formal, saying like La Bistro or what have you. But I got away with a shirt and slacks and stuff like that, dress pants and dress shirt kind of thing. And even that, I felt dressed up overall. So.
But it's fun. If people like to dress up, but don't feel you have to force the husband there to wear the shirt and tie if you really don't want to. Alaska, as Heidi put in the comments here, is casual. I brought a coat, at least I wore mine once. You said you never broke out your formal wear at all?
I know. I just sat there lonely in my closet. And, when you feel a little bit, it hurts your feelings a little bit because you got to pack it, right? So
that's like 3 pounds of luggage.
I know. I was like, honey, do you want to wear my jacket tonight? And she's like, no, you don't need to. I'm like, but you know what it took to pack this thing? But no, I looked around. I was checking the program. I'm looking real close. I'm like pulling up the app. I'm like, it doesn't really say, like normally it would say what tonight's elegant night, tonight's this night, casual. And I'm like, it must be just this freestyle experience because Norwegian has so many different. We got the Norwegian Spirit had 2 main dining rooms, and they have all these different specialty restaurants. And then even the specialty restaurants, people do what they want to do. A lot of times there's groups and parties and the families dress a certain way, but everybody's dressed nice and appropriately. But I think the more importantly, be comfortable. So
yeah, that's the most important thing. And to your point too, our itinerary had some times where we're in port 7, 8 o'clock. So if you might not even be going to dinner on the ship every night. So you might just be doing something and checking out the seafood, and maybe you're willing to pay a little bit more than John is, but to go out and eat. Look at that, and I'm going to go and I'm not going to spend the money. So now I'm like shooting myself in the foot. But we thought Princess does have recommended dress, but I don't know if they really enforced it. But we didn't see anyone like in t-shirt, bathing suit.
Yeah, neither we never started with it.
No, but if you wore khakis and a shirt, even on formal night, or even jeans, probably in a nice shirt for guys, I'm saying, or even women too, then you'd probably be fine. So, leave it up to your husband and you to decide if you really want to get all dressed up. So.
But I did want to ask everybody if you can give me a like and follow on Cruise Addicts. We really appreciate it because I am trying to get my money up so I can actually buy some lobster, and not lobster, I mean some crab in Alaska.
It was crab.
I want my lobster would be nice too, but definitely want some crab in Juneau. My Juneau crab fund for next year, hopefully.
I'm gonna take some pictures and just tag you in all of them.
Yes,
like,
please do
John,
that.
this could be you with like a crab leg.
If you can visit cruiseaddicts.com, I really appreciate that. Thank you and God bless.
But yeah, please give a follow and a thumbs up at Cruise Addicts or at Eat Sleep Cruise 1 here on YouTube, but at Eat Sleep Cruise everywhere else because we grab the at Eat Sleep Cruise and then I mess up setting up a YouTube channel. It's how smart I am. This is an interesting question. So again, folks, feel free to ask your question. Just let us know when you're going cruising. A bunch of you going to Alaska. We got a question about what is the most important thing you should do in Alaska, which is a great question. And then this is a two for what if one thing you wish you did but didn't. So I mean, it's very similar. I would say I can give you. I would give you there's so many cool things to do. So it really depends on what you like to do. The dog mushing thing was like everything we thought would be. You're taking a helicopter over Mendenhall Glacier, so you can see the lake, you see the glacier, you land. And there's a camp with, I think they said about 260 or 250 Alaskan Huskies. And then you actually get on a dog sled and they mush you around. I mean, they just mush you in a big circle, but it wasn't really snowy, but it must have been like 40-ish, like 38, 40 on the mountain. So you kind of get that misty, kind of wet rain, snow kind of stuff. And the dogs are pulling, the dogs are going crazy. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty cool. I mean, something we want to do is definitely worth it for us to do. I don't know if everyone needs to do it, but that was something we really loved. And then I would say the other thing that we really enjoyed is we took one of those explorers, not this trip, a couple trips ago, to go up to the Soria Glacier. And as John mentioned, the smaller boats can get you really close. So we got really close to Soria Glacier, which the large ships can't even get to anymore. Our first Alaska cruise on Celebrity Solstice, Soria Glacier was a regular itinerary, but it's retreated miles now. I think they said close to 2 miles when we were there in 21, so it's probably more now, right? But you can do some great glaciers from the larger ships, from a larger ship, but on those smaller ships, getting so close to the glacier, seeing the glacial ice, it just gives you a better appreciation for just those amazing floating rivers of ice. So I would say either one of those, anything that's really glacier intensive to me is just amazing. What about you, John?
Yeah, I did land on a glacier in 2003. We did a helicopter ride. Really, really cool. I mean, there's nothing more amazing than, hey, you're in a helicopter and you're flying and you have the views, and then you land and you get out and you kind of have this special suit they give you and shoes. They dress you up like you're going to do a moon landing. And you get out and the helicopter leaves you. And so you have time there with you and your group there, and you can actually hear the water from the glacier underneath your feet flowing because it's a river of ice, right? And it's melting, and you hear this water rushing, and it just blows your mind, that you're on this glacier and you feel like you landed on the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely an amazing experience. I think you just have to, and of course, Glacier Bay. I think Glacier Bay is a must-do. If you have an itinerary, I would try to pick that. I think that's a really, really wonderful experience. But more importantly, I think just to round up my overall thought when I saw the question was, I think you have to take the time to slow down wherever you're doing and just take in the sights, walk around the ship, really get to experience things. I think you could easily get into a real intensive experience where you're going and doing a lot of things and activities, and really you might be missing the best show and the best experience of just seeing the beauty all around you on an Alaska cruise. So try to take in those moments, try to stop and smell the roses, so to speak.
I think that's great too. Sometimes you get so caught up in booking the excursions and maximizing time that even Juneau or Ketchikan, you can, for most ships dock pretty close that you can walk, or if your ship is tendering, they'll send you right into town and just walk around, talk to people. As John mentioned, some of them are transplants, some of them have lived there their whole life and they have the lasting way of life, and you can get a cup of coffee or get something to eat there and just do something that's not as cultivated and organized as a tour, which is tough for us. So I mean, listen, It took us multiple times before I was like, we're just gonna walk around today. We always have a plan, but that was the plan. And it just, you can pop in the shops, talk to people, and they know you're on the cruise. They know you're not from there. They know you're a cruiser, but they're friendly, they're open, and you can ask them questions. I think glaciers are kind of the main reason people go there. But if you like other types of wildlife, there's a bald eagle preserve. We did a tour there a couple times ago, which is cool. We did a bear watching tour, which was, we've done two. One, we saw no bears. The other one, we saw a bunch of bears. So if that's your kind of thing, it was pretty National Geographic, the way the path was laid out. They know they build kind of these areas where they know the bears basically go. We saw a couple bears, one climbing a tree, which is pretty cool, and another one kind of watching the stream. You saw it pounce on two salmon, and it felt like something you would see, again, on television, but you were physically there watching it. That's pretty amazing too. So it really depends on what you're into. I'm trying to think what's an Alaskan experience that you've wanted to have and haven't had or wish you have done. I'm sure I'll get off and Heidi's like, oh, we haven't done this tour yet. But I don't know, is there something you're still on that bucket list for you?
Well, I was going to go back again. John, that question just brings up so many thoughts, and I think I see Don kind of having the same reaction. It's hard to I hope we're answering your question because it's kind of hard. I think because of the budget constraints, depending on what you're doing, you have to prioritize what your activities. And Alaska offers so much, and we've talked about this in the past. If you like to fish, if you can do fishing excursions where you go out and you catch halibut or fish, and then you bring it back and you cook it. So each of your ports are going to have some amazing itinerary or excursion opportunities and tours that are going to speak to you, John, and your family or whoever's traveling with you. So you can really personalize that. Then you have to look at your overall budget and what you want to do and how busy you want to be. And then so it really is a personal decision and choice. I think the biggest thing, not to have any regrets, is you have to look at the big picture and then prioritize your experiences. Because like Don was saying, some of these excursions can be $496 or $500 or more per person per port. Yeah, and even higher. Yeah, and so it can be significant. And if you have unlimited funds, then I need your number so I can ask you for them. So your interest low. No, but I'm joking. But
well, John, you're on the way. Anthony on the move just subscribed. Thank you, Anthony. You're one closer. So this is the one thing we haven't done. Heidi mentioned this, and she's right. Is doing a sea and land tour. So a lot of the folks on the ship we were doing, because it was a one-way southbound.
That's a great.
Yeah. Norwegian has Royal, Celebrity, Princess, Holland all have these packages that bucket a few days further north, because the cruise ship can only go so far north, like Seward or Whittier, and that's like an hour and a half to Anchorage. But you want to go up to Denali or Fairbanks, the ships can't get up there. Even Anchorage is tough. Very few ships do stops in Anchorage, just given the way the tides work. But if you want to see Denali and you want to see, as folks say, real Alaska, add the 3 or 4 day land tour to that. And then Princess has a lot of them have a train. They'll take you down scenic trains from there. So you get to stop at a couple different places. So that is next on our list, to do a sea and land tour. But again, you'd have the vacation time, because that whole vacation can now be 10 days, 2 weeks long, just for us to have it's a 7-night cruise, but we need a day. We did 2 days ahead of time just because of the time changes. Never ended up getting an extra day because we got stuck in Toronto on the way back. So I ended up being gone for almost 11 days for a 7-day cruise. If you do the sea and land tour, that's like closer to 2 weeks, but I'm sure it's well worth it. So I guess that's our next thing that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, I did a land tour from Fairbanks down to I think it was Whittier in 2003. Got to see all 7 Princess Lodges, and to say they are incredible was an understatement. You basically have a land cruise experience. They have excursions from all these places. You have incredible views. You have incredible food. And overall, they really just pamper you just like you were on a cruise, but you're on the land. And I think the beauty of like the Denali Princess Lodge and the different lodges there, the McKinley Princess Lodge and so on and so forth, those experiences are so good that it really can actually be hard to pick which the cruise or land experience is better, because they're both really unique and they're both really special. So I know I talked about this in the past. I highly, highly recommend you do it. And going back to Alaska this year, it made me want to do it even more, because you can only see so much when you're on a cruise ship, be it in a town or wherever like that. You can only get to experience so much and do so much. Time's always limited. And but when you're in the interior, it just has a totally different vibe that I really, really love. And so it's something I hope everybody gets a chance to do, is do a land tour. Even like Steve Don said, even just a couple days. But I think I said it before, do as many as you can. And I know Princess is really, really good at it. That's my only experience with them. They're super impressive. So definitely check them out.
And like I said, the other cruise lines have them too. So if you have a preferred cruise line, check with that. I would definitely book with them or with your travel advisor, buy the package.
It's definitely a package.
Yeah, you want to do the package. Not that you couldn't find a hotel up there or find it, but they do all the transportation. There's apparently some kind of issue. I know we heard conflicting stories, but we left late because they claimed there was a luggage issue or a train broke down and they had to get on buses. There was a kind of conflicting stories of why we were delayed. But regardless, you can see the train coming into Whittier, and it says Princess Cruises on it. It has the scenic views, so it's open on the top. Either way, booking in one package. If there's travel delays or cancellations or disruptions, they're going to help you out, as opposed to you booked your 4 days in Denali and you got to find your way down to Seward or Whittier, and then things happen, you can't get there, and you miss it. Well, then it's up to you to get to the ship somehow. So getting the package is definitely worth it. And hopefully, maybe next year we'll get up there, because we definitely want to check out, as you said, the interior, see Denali National Park, and more of Alaska, because it's just beautiful, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those cruises I think would be something you could look at like a shoulder season, like early or late in the season, where you could get a significant discount and get a great experience. Because of course, if you were to book something like that in the middle of high season, the price is going to be appropriately higher too.
Yeah. And so similarly, Jamie on YouTube mentioned, people do northbound, then the land tour from Whittier. Just remember, you could do it either way. A lot of the folks, because we were southbound, right? We were leaving from Whittier going to Vancouver. Plenty of people had spent a couple of days there, so they flew to Anchorage, or actually probably flew up to Fairbanks or Anchorage and took the train up and then came back down. Most cruise lines let you do it either way. So just also think that way too. So you could start in Vancouver, go up there, do the land tour. Or like I said, a lot of people on our tour did the land tour first, took the southbound down. We even had some people, because the itineraries were slightly different, northbound, southbound, who just did the round trip. They started in Vancouver. Like, once I started pricing out the flight from Anchorage, spending the day in hotel, they're like, it was just better off for me just to stay on the ship. It was slightly different ports, and then just fly back from Vancouver, or a couple of folks from Canada could drive, or whatever the case may be. So there's plenty of options. You cannot get enough of Alaska. Round trip, if you want to do it, the land tours, you're going to see something different every time. Even if it's the same ports of call, there are different things to do with those ports of call. Or as John mentioned earlier, you could do a tour one day, and the next time just kind of get off and walk around. There's so much to do that right off the ship that you don't have to necessarily have an organized tour. So there's plenty of options there. And like I said, given the pricing and flights, especially, like I said, our flight nightmare coming home, you might be better off doing a combination of, or a round trip or something like that.
Yeah, we walked around in Juneau, and we all walked around in Skagway, and we loved it. I think we've kind of simplified some things as far as like how we've learning how to travel, if that makes any sense. And so we learned to appreciate walking around, meeting people, shopping in local stores, and they were better than I ever imagined they would be. We literally walked all over the place and had a great time. Didn't feel like we really missed anything, and just enjoyed ourselves. Just it was one of those stop and smell the roses kind of thing. You don't have nowhere to be. You just had a great time. We got to see some of the highlights. Got to feel like we were there. I had been to those places before, but I was telling my wife at the time, for example, the other people on their ship, they're literally getting picked up from the ship, getting taken away on a bus or wherever on a tour, maybe taking a helicopter ride, doing some excursion far away, and then they're getting dropped back off. A lot of times you're tired, because it can be pretty busy, can't it?
Oh yeah, one of our tips is it's just not a relaxing vacation. So it's an adventure. Get the drink package, if nothing else, for the coffee. I mean, we were legit. I drink a lot of coffee naturally, so
Yeah.
I mean, I was drinking 4 or 5 shots of espresso, combinations of lattes, or just give me the espresso because we can't nap. But you're right. You're up sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning. And remember, the sun's
Oh yeah.
up
Oh
for our
yeah.
4 a.m. It's up when you're
Yeah.
really far north.
We had tours at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And what Don was talking about earlier, and what we've learned a lot of these ports, some of like depending on which cruise line you're at, that cruise line might have a certain arrangement with that particular port where they might be there like for 8 hours, let's say, or longer hours, where other lines might, another line might only be there for the morning time. So like 7 to 1 or whatever, right? So they're going to pull up 7 to 1. The whole ship's going to get off, and they're going to be gone at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, another cruise line during the high season is going to pull in, and it's going to be there from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. So there's a lot going on, in these places. So it can be very busy, and these excursions they're also not they're not passive. You might be doing hiking, you can be walking, up hills and on mountains and going down zip lines and, on the water in front of glaciers. And there's a lot going on, and it's great and it's exhilarating, but it also can be a little tiring because you're also on that cruise, you're not at home. As comfortable as cruise ships can be, you're still, traveling. And so you may need to pace yourself, take a little nap. If I know we like cruise ship naps in the afternoon, we can do that, but it can be hard. So pace yourself and be prepared.
I'm envious. We've attempted napping a few times, and they've been just epic fails where we sleep through them, don't wake up properly. So
that's why I bring my phone.
We both drink a lot of coffee. What is that?
I set an alarm. And if I drink too much coffee, I can't. But if I could, even if I just lay down for like 30 minutes, an hour, I mean, I'm good just to kind of, re-energize.
Yeah. So the main point is be prepared. They are intensive. And that's why at night it's more casual. People might not go to the main dining room all the time. They go get at a grill or at the buffet. You grab a video drink and then you just kind of call it a night or go to maybe one of the shows. But one thing I would recommend all folks do, and I'm sure you went to these too, is on your ship there'll be some type of naturalist or there'll be some enrichment programming. We always attend those shows, or most of them. Usually there'll be several sessions. They're always interesting. If you do go to Glacier Bay, the park rangers come on. Go to the park ranger talk. Yeah. We've gone to Glacier Bay now 3 times. We've had 3 different rangers, 3 different styles of presentation. You hear some of the same stuff, but everyone kind of weaves in their personal story. How did they get to Alaska? Why are they a park ranger? What do they like? Why they want to preserve and conserve? It gives you just better sense of where you are at and just seeing some of the changes over time. So the enrichment programs are definitely some things you should try to attend if you can, but definitely Glacier Bay Day, attend those. And then if they have, like I said, talks from a naturalist or they're doing some narration and you can just kind of be on the outside decks, scenic cruising, looking for wildlife, that's sometimes some of the best parts too. Plus you can do it with a drink in hand too. That's, a little fun.
Yeah, I was talking about Glacier Bay, how the park ranger came on board because a lot of times they're on the bridge too, or there's a team of them. Sometimes they're on the open decks, but also on the bridge or the naturalist is. And I'll never forget it, how that brown bear was in Glacier Bay, and I looked down there and he's swimming across Glacier Bay, and they said, "Oh yeah, the bears. You might think a bear would have a hard time, but they're natural swimmers, and they can swim across the entire Glacier Bay." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So it's just crazy. It's like, what? And that's kind of what I know. I've probably told this story over and over again, but it's just that type of experience where you learn about these animals and the environment and wildlife, things that you never ever know. And you're there, right? And you're seeing it and you're experiencing it, whatever it is, so you can really, it really touches you, and you're open to learn from these wonderful people that share their knowledge and insights with you. We saw otters. We saw sea lions. Was it sea lions? Yeah.
Well, they're both seals and sea lions are both there.
Yeah, we saw sea lions on buoys. We saw otters. Just amazing how, all these little things, and there they are. It's just really cool. I know some people like to bring binoculars, and that's always a good idea. We don't really do it. I used my phone a lot. And a lot of times you're on a boat that's moving. So how useful it is one thing. They do stop, but it's, if it's something that you really, really want to do, I'd say get some on Amazon. They sell them on board the ships and of course in shops, stuff like that. I mean, that's one of those things you're going to want to have it. If you really want it, have it before you go. There's so many things to look at.
Or rent. I know I've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Borrow Lenses is one company. We don't get no affiliate link. Don't worry about it. But I rented zoom lenses. I've rented other gear. You can get action cameras or binoculars. Borrowlenses.com. So you don't have to buy them. You can get them. And I don't know what the going rate is, but I got lenses that would easily cost me $1,000 for like a week for like $100, approximately, again, a few years ago. So, but instead of buying them, I rented them, and it's easy to ship them to you. They give the box, you ship them right back, and I got some really great photos with lenses. I would have felt really bad spending all that money for them, because I don't do a lot of photography, but like I said, around $100 was worth it versus paying $1,000. They probably been more. They were pretty nice, 200 millimeter zoom, so they were pretty nice. So that's another thing too. You can always look at upgrading your gear, but if you have a good phone, that works too. But as you mentioned, they have so much of that stuff on the ship, but you're limited to the couple, 3 or 4 that they have, and there's no real competition there to get that stuff. But yeah, we always recommend upgrading your gear. Good. Another question we kind of skipped over, and I apologize, Joseph. Hopefully, you're still here. Trying to keep the questions coming. Is that all he hears about booking Alaska cruises with Princess? Do we concur? We were just on Princess. We had a great time, but I'll give my 2 cents, John. I think there's no one perfect cruise line in Alaska because everyone's different. You have different makeup of your travel party. You might have young kids, teenagers, just a couple like us, multi-generational families. So every cruise line does things a little bit differently, and what I might like, my taste might not be your taste. I had a great time with Princess Cruises. We've been there twice with them. We've also gone on Holland Line. We've also gone on Norwegian Cruise Line. We've also gone on Celebrity Cruise Line. And for us, each one of those cruise lines have done things differently, but we've still had a great time. So you can have a great time on Princess, but don't feel forced to do Princess if maybe you're a Carnival cruiser. Carnival has some options there. Check out those ships. Maybe the ships aren't going to meet your needs, but maybe they will, right? So I don't know. Every cruise, like I said, I would never say do this one cruise line because of this, because we're so different. What we like might not be what you like.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said, and I think that and I know I might have been part of I might have even said this. I might have pushed Joseph a little bit to say Princess, and I apologize if I did, because it's easy to say that, but for example, you might not want to go on a Princess cruise. Each cruise is a unique product. And so you have your expectations, and really something that you want has to be on that product. For example, if you walk on a Princess ship and you're like, this isn't what I want. I like a Disney cruise, or I like a Royal Caribbean cruise, or I like a Regent cruise. They're all very unique and very different. I think they all share a cruise experience, right? But they're all unique products. I think some of the strengths of Princess is they've been in Alaska, I think the second longest. I think Holland America was before them. They have a fleet of rail cars. They have 7, and they may have more now, so double check, because at one time they had 7 different lodges. So they have a very extensive land cruise program. They have their own buses there. They have a lot of resources there. But if you don't enjoy that product, then I'm not going to tell you to book a product that you're not going to enjoy, because it is a product. So look at all your options. The
pros of Princess, definitely itineraries. They go to Glacier Bay among the most. When we were in Glacier Bay, they only allowed 2 cruise ships in a day. The day we were there, they were both Princess cruise ships. We had the afternoon slot. There was a ship there earlier. I think they do have a traditional cruise experience. Their ships are beautiful. You get longer times in port, and they offer, like I said, I really like their North to Alaska enrichment programs, but there might be other things which to me are all important things. One thing's why I would recommend them, but if you're like, well, I got little kids or teenagers, well, there is kids areas, but it may not be as kid oriented or family friendly as, say, Royal or Carnival or Norwegian, which have go-karts and they have all these other crazy attractions on them. Princess isn't going to have that. So if you know that going in and you're like, well, I don't care about that, then yeah, Princess is a great fit for you. But if you're like, well, what are my kids going to do when we come back, and you're concerned about that, then you could look at other options. So I've had a great time with Princess. I never recommend any ship or any brand to folks I don't know. Once I get to know you a little bit, I'm very confident I put you on the right ship, and I've put plenty of people, our friends and family, we cruise. I'm like, I like this, but I know you're going to like that. And maybe we're the same or maybe we're different. Princess has a great experience. Those are the pros of using Princess. But you had a great time on doing Norwegian. That Norwegian Spirit's a brand new ship. It's a smaller ship than what we were on. So that's a different experience with the freestyle, right?
Yeah. And, and Joseph, to kind of back up a little bit, you really need to work with a travel advisor if you don't, because this is such a big subject about which cruise line you should cruise. I mean, we basically said this brand is really great because it has this many resources, is what they offer. But for example, if I'm your travel agent and advisor, and okay, who are you, Joseph? Let's say you're a dad and you have kids of 3 different ages. And oh, by the way, and grandma's going too, and also my other in-laws are going as well. So you have this multi-generational cruise that's going to Alaska. Are you doing a land tour? Yes or no? Have you cruised with other brands? Yeah, we cruise with Royal Caribbean. How many cruises? Oh, we're platinum with them. So all of a sudden it gets changes very quickly. Am I going to recommend you go on a different brand that you have nothing in common with, that doesn't cater to families as much? Maybe not, right? So that's where you really need to sit down with someone, and they really need to help you, or you need to really look closely to navigate what product is going to best suit you on that particular cruise. That's why the cruise product's so complicated compared to other products. It's one size does not fit all, and also the situation can be different, because now we have a multi-generational cruise. We have other people that are like Don and Heidi. You have a couple that has no children, totally different experience. And then, of course, what they like might be different than another couple the same age, the same situation. So you have all these different scenarios, and it gets more and more complicated because people are complicated, right? So that's where you want to have someone to help you navigate and align your tastes and situation with the product. And that's kind of, I've talked about this before. These are products, and they're very unique. And of course, Alaska is even more unique in the destination. And so that's why it's best to get aligned as properly as can. Because nothing would be worse, I think, than, Don, that show up there and you fly to Alaska, you're all excited, and people are like, where's the water slide? Or, where's something for the kids? Or the kids, the kids program's a closet, There's nothing there, It's just grandma and grandpa. The shows aren't aligned. You have to make the whole family, the whole traveling party, the whole group happy, or both people in the couple, the husband and the wife both have to be happy. And that's hard to always do, but it can be done. And that's why having someone that can help you, a third party help you, and that has cruised all those different brands, that has an understanding, can really help you. And I know I got a little long-winded here, but it is really important, because there's nothing worse than having someone go on you wouldn't want to go to you have to really think of these as like resort hotels, and then put the resort in different places, and if you show up to the wrong hotel, the resort hotel, and if you put it in the wrong, you see what I'm trying to say. So.
Well, no, I agree with you. So there isn't one great, and we had a post we just put out, the pros and cons. I think Heidi put it in there, hopefully Joseph earlier. If you're still with us, hopefully you are. But for other folks too, because that is a common question, we've done comparisons of different ships, and we say, like, here's what this ship has versus this ship here, so it might be good for it, here's who not. I like Holly thinks on YouTube brought this up, and I think we alluded to it earlier. I would definitely focus a little more on the itinerary and the ports of call you're visiting. And as I said, what we really loved we did the Voyage of the Glacier itinerary with Princess, and it went to the Hubbard Glacier and Glacier Bay, extended stays in Juneau. We were there for a full day, and then Ketchikan were there for most of a day as well, but it didn't go to Skagway, for example, which is another popular port. That itinerary didn't even go there, but we've been there, so that wasn't necessarily important to us. The itinerary and the ports of call are probably going to be more important when I'm talking to someone. For someone who's never cruised before, some folks would think, I think that they show of hands, like how many people this is their first time in Alaska, and like all the hands go up, like a lot of hands go up in the theater. And then how many times is someone's first princess cruise, and a lot of hands go up in the theater. So if you're new to Alaska, new to cruising, I recommend probably leaving out of Seattle, probably doing a round trip, just getting a taste for it. Because to John's point, doing the one way, coordinating flights, or doing, if you don't travel a lot and you do a 2-week land and sea tour, that's a lot of travel. If you're not used to traveling, you may not be up for the challenge, right? So those are all factors that play into what ship or what cruise line I think you should go on. So yeah, itinerary first. If you pick, we'll try to find you Glacier Bay, I think is probably a must for a first timer. It took us through our third cruise before we went there, so and now I can't get enough of it. But I think those are important. Wouldn't you say sometimes the port's a little bit more important than the ship?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to consider, and that kind of goes back to where the travel advisor, where someone can tell you, hey, Glacier Bay is pretty awesome. So, because sometimes you have all these itineraries, you open up the book or you look at the website, and you have all these different options, and if you have no understanding of what's important or what you should prioritize, you just might pick a different itinerary because you don't know, and you might be missing out. And Glacier Bay is not on all the itineraries, so.
Right. And, I mean, all the ports are amazing too. So I don't want you to think if it doesn't work with your schedule, because I know some folks have schedules, right? There's only sometimes you can take vacation, or price might be an issue, and you're looking at some of these itineraries, and for whatever reason, a different itinerary is just more appealing to you from a price standpoint. A lot of these cruises do go to the same ports: Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Icy Strait Point, Hoonah is a new popular port that both our cruises happen to go to. The next cruise I'm going on is not going there. So there's so many factors here to consider, and I mean we could just do a whole thing on like each port. You could do a live on like each port call, because there are so many options to do. But you'd end up finding something that you enjoy in all of them. But there's more than just like what ship or what cruise line, right?
Yeah, because like what happens is you get off at the first port, you go get some crab, all your money's gone.
Well, if you get more subscribers, I mean, it help out. You're like, oh well, I just need to get a few more.
I tell you, I'm doing this. I'm going to find the menu from this place, and we're going to share it in this next live stream. And show you. It was like bucket of crab. It was like 4 pounds for like $400. I was like, what? It was so bad. And they're like, people told us to go. We're like, oh, we're going to walk over there. Sure.
I know we've went a little bit over an hour, but really appreciate it. So we'll go a few more minutes. I know John's wife isn't throwing shoes at him yet. Mine might be. But so if you have a couple more questions, as mentioned, John was on Norwegian Spirit about 2 weeks ago now. We were just on Majestic Princess in Alaska last week. Lots of questions. A lot of great questions about packing, itineraries, balcony versus not, destination. So keep them coming. We can answer a few more either on Facebook, on YouTube. Appreciate you all joining. And please, John needs to be able to afford some seafood. So subscribe, follow, give us a thumbs up. I need to afford it too. Thumbs up, all that great stuff, so we can continue doing this. We want to make these lives a more regular part of the content we provide you, because we know we can put out all the reviews, we can put all the stuff on social, but getting to hear what your specific questions are, asking them. And then also we can just go back and we learn a lot from folks here in the audience telling us about their experiences on doing land and sea tours, or other folks. It looks like Jamie was actually on the same cruise with us and didn't say hi. Oh, you could have said hi.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Where was it? Yeah, it was on the same cruise. So thanks for stopping by. We did have, humble brag, we did have someone come up to me while I was filming.
You saw this? You saw Don on the cruise?
Exactly. I'm the only idiot in the buffet line without a plate. I have my phone, and someone comes up to me, do you have a YouTube channel? I'm like, yes, I've seen some of your videos. Whether he was being kind, maybe or not, I don't know. But we learned so much from everyone too here that cruises, because there's so many types of cruises, and folks have been on so many cruises that there's only so many we can go on. So I would say someone asked about naturalists. We had a naturalist on board. Did you have a naturalist on Norwegian Spirit?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the balcony again.
That's nudist, John.
Oh.
Different. You were the nudist on your cruise, apparently.
I thought they were called naturalists.
Naturalists.
They're like all natural. They're all red natural, you know.
How else am I pronouncing this wrong? Some we need.
Well,
I think my like what. But did you? So did I mean answer the question here?
I think they did, sir.
They did, yeah. I would say most cruises do. We've been on cruises that don't go to Glacier Bay, and there's always some type of expert. Sometimes two. We had two on Celebrity: a historian and a naturalist, like a culturalist. There's usually some type of expert who can provide talks on the local Klingits or the indigenous people, the wildlife, or just the history of the state. I would say I haven't been on every cruise in Alaska, but most of them probably have that. So not just those that go to
There's
Bay.
always
That's
talks, yeah. But did we get to Christine's question? She's asking how
no, we did.
a 4-person 2-bunk bedroom. We have a family going with us, and this was the only 4-person room left on a cruise. Now I've cruised with in balcony cabins. Yeah, I've cruised with balcony cabins where the couch pulls out, and it can be a little. I think that, of course, at nighttime, depending on the layout, as long as you can get by, mom and dad can get by and get to the restroom, and everybody can get by the pull-out couch. There's a walkway, is what I'm trying to say. As long as that's good, and most of the cabins are laid out well, it shouldn't be a problem, and it'll be fine. Sometimes there's a bunk bed, like you said. If it is a bunk bed, then some of the newer cabins actually have where the couch pops up. It's like a bunk bed with a ladder and everything. Pretty cool. I haven't used those, but those are the kind of newer styles. So, Christine, I wouldn't expect a problem. Definitely take a picture when you go and let us know. We'd like to see it, and let us know how it goes. I wouldn't stress about it. Just go have fun. You know, if it's a balcony, just have them sleep out there. It'll be okay. I'm kidding.
Definitely bring it over to Coke. I guess it depends how.
They have that kids club, with late night thing. Just don't pick them up for a while. What are they gonna do?
Yeah. Do they charge by the hour? If you pick them up,
yeah, there's probably like a late fee. I'm sorry. I've got bad jokes. I'm sorry.
This isn't Blockbuster or late fee. It's like
we were in the dance club. But I'm sure some of them you'll show up like late fees will show up, but just have a great time. And I think it's going to work out great. We've cruised several times with Carnival. They've got some really great family cabins. And we brought our kids.
We don't have kids. We don't have kids. So that's why I was like, this is all you can speak. And we got the judge. We got an official ruling here.
Oh, what did she say?
Oh, there it is. It's a naturist versus naturalist, and naturalist is the correct term. So,
is a naturist someone that partakes in clothing optional moments? I don't know. I don't know.
I always thought they were naturalists. I don't know.
That's why I'm confused. I don't know. I dabble in that. But I think Don does need to get. If you can give him some subscribers too, so he can get one of those fancy princess robes or Norwegian robes, when he's on his cruise coming up, just to save the naturalists.
Well, I know we're coming to an end. A couple more questions if he has them. We got shout out John to your library.
Yes, this is my library.
The library.
This is actually on the Viking Actanis behind me. So if you like what you see, this is actually Norwegian designed, I say this all the time, but it's very reminiscent of the design you'll see, a minimalist design on Viking ships. So I know there's other words I'm looking for, but I think I'm still stuck on the naturist.
Well, at least it wasn't nudity.
Thank you. So she said yes. So it is a naked person, I guess. She says yes. So I was right.
I don't know that
at least my vocabulary is working for me somewhat, I guess. Even though I'm slightly confused. But I do think, all I know is I really do think Don needs a robe. I don't know why. I don't know.
I'll take a picture. We're working with Norwegian, so I have to go to who twist my arm to go to the spa, right? But we'll be doing some kind of spa thing while we're there. So donning.
We totally explored that one spa on that one ship, the MSC Seascape. We walked all through that spa, that's for sure. that one day.
Yeah, no, that's one cruise line. So we were talking about a lot of cruise lines. So that's one cruise line I don't think has a ship. Do they have a ship in Alaska? Not yet. I know there's a lot in Europe. And
when I was at Icy Strait Point, they were talking about MSC ships coming to Alaska.
okay.
So they must be working on it if they're not there already. But it's hard to keep track because a lot of times it's hard to get up there because they have to make arrangements. And a lot of these ports, that's one thing the one fellow was telling me is a lot of times these ports are the private ones can make private deals. So if you don't have, you have to have dockage, places to dock. So if they don't have those arrangements in place, then it's going to be more and more, more difficult to enter the market. But so there's a lot of contracts, being done. And of course, we have more and more cruise lines, more and more ships. And so that's why they're building out these different ports, developing them. But of course, those aren't done overnight. And it makes it difficult because it is so far, these are remote locations. But so lots going on the next couple of years as far as new ports and of course new ships, I think too, as well. So really cool.
All right. Well, and this might be that. So we have two final. So we have the official word from the producer. There's no MSC ships. Can't talk tonight. And I think I will leave this sentiment for folks. Again, thanks, folks, for joining us. Thanks for your questions. If we didn't get to your question, or you think of a question afterward, at EC Cruise or at Cruise Addicts, hit us up on social. Happy to answer your question. I think Holly sums it up best that it should be Alaska Cruise should be on everyone's bucket list, and she's ready to book another one. We're very fortunate to go back this week. I'd go back the week after, and I'd go back a week after if I had unlimited vacation and travel funds. If I had Cruise Addicts money, I'd go back again and again. So.
Yeah, well, I want to go back just to have the crab legs. So
you spent all that money just to go.
Yeah, I might just skip the whole excursion to the glacier on the helicopter. Don't do the zip line down a mountain. Don't do the dog sledding. Just go to the Tasty Crab place there and get the $400 bucket of crab legs. But and but no, this is really I definitely go.
Yeah. So again, appreciate everyone joining us. Thanks for great questions. Again, Alaska is high on our bucket list. John, where can folks find you?
You can find me right here, right now. But of course, cruiseaddicts.com. I'm in the library. But yeah, cruise-addicts.com and also at Cruise Addicts. Please give us a like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. We really appreciate it. But most of all, thank you all for being here and watching us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, you appreciate my sense of humor.
Yes. And check out John has a lot of great Facebook groups for different cruise lines too. So you can also check out some of his groups. And then, of course, you can find Heidi and I at Eat Sleep Cruise, eatsleepcruise.com, at Eat Sleep Cruise 1 here on YouTube, at Sleep Cruise, all over social. And let us know and follow along. We're going on Norwegian Encore this Saturday. I'm going to try. We'll have to look at the schedule and the itinerary. I'm going to try to do a live. If it works for your schedule, maybe we'll coordinate, John, from Alaska. But I believe Wednesday we're at sea, so I would never risk it. But we'll be in contact. Check out for updates, at least live from that trip. And what do you have? When is so? That's our next trip. We'll leave with what's your next trip?
I don't have any trips right now. I'm
nothing booked.
I have nothing booked right now.
Trip
Zero.
List.
So if you want to give me a call, I'll book it. So no, yeah, nothing right now. It's great. I'm just making content and excited about, everything, sharing about the Norwegian spirit. There's MSC's new ship is coming. There's so much cruise news happening every day. Really, really exciting. So can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. So much going on. And definitely check out Alaska. Cruising is back and it's, definitely need to do it.
Sounds good. Well, thanks to everyone. Have a good night, John. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining us, folks. Stay safe.